Stefan said it right. What's up? What's up, guys?
What's up, Bruce?
Bruce.
What everybody doing tonight? It's Valentine's. Happy Valentine's, y'all.
Yeah, I wasn't realizing that.
Well, Ryan he texts. He's like, "Y'all, it's Valentine's Day. Y'all doing the show?" It's like, yeah, we're good. See how my wife gets treated from the video today. I'm more in love with my floor pooler.
It's like somebody called yesterday and it's Fat Tuesday. They're like, "You're open? I got work to do."
Yeah,
I'm not downtown Mardi Gras right now.
Right. I think my mom was down there with my grandma living it up.
I think she was across the bay. I think her video was at Lulu's, which is Jimmy Buffett's sister's restaurant.
Oh, okay.
Both stores. That's where it looked like she was. But
anyway, she said Lulu's. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we got a great show tonight. I'm stoked about this one.
Yeah, me too. We and I didn't realize until he posted earlier. It's his first time actually being interviewed.
I know.
Hey, there's a first for everything.
Well, that's it. Honored to be them. Pop this cherry.
So we'll go ahead and bring him on. Our guest tonight is none other than Mr. Ryan Shutt. What's up, brother?
What's going on, fellas? How are you?
Great. How are you?
Wonderful. Busy.
Doing good. Doing good. We've been busy. So just trying to get back to the life after MTE.
Yes. It was a great time down there, of course. Like your show the other night. I mean, it's just a sad situation. But yeah, we'll I've told everybody he'll be looking over MTE from now on, and there's a lot of good things already in the works for next year. I can't wait.
Oh,
Sheldon and them do such a good job. They really do.
Dude, phenomenal.
Oh, they grabbed the torch and just ran with it like the way it should be ran. You know what I mean? Yeah. So.
And I know,
I don't think he could have picked anybody better.
I think you said something, Andy, but earlier we were talking about, I took my headset off, but I think you said something about Sheldon, like coming out of the shell. And I've been talking with Bird about that lately. I'm like, I've only gone 3 years, and from the first year he was like real quiet,
timid.
Yeah. Last year started coming out a little bit. This year
he was on it,
like wilding out. I mean, he was out there dressed up at parties and just having fun, man.
He drank the whole time. Yeah, every time I saw him, he had a beer in his head. I was like,
and that may be why. Maybe why he was so relaxed. But
liquid courage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, also special congratulations to you and Alex and Manny. Count all you guys together. Golden Mike. That's awesome.
Heck yeah.
Definitely. I appreciate it. I was, just second place to you guys. You got it last year. So,
Well, we heard we can't win it back to back, but no.
I was expecting you to win it last year. I was like, man, it'll be Dent Digest. Gotta be. You guys are, we try to stay consistent, but you're on it. Like every Thursday night, it's like clockwork for you.
We try. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's, and the other problem is you get to a point, right? You figure this is for a little over 4 years. You start running out of stuff to talk about. Right?
Yeah.
These people to interview and different things to talk about. So it's been fun. And Manny, the whole situation, everybody came to me like, "What? Are you still good with Manny?" Man, I still talk to Manny every week. He's
That's
got
awesome.
his church thing that he's really honed into and really trying to do what he's wanted to do for the last 2 years. And he came to me, he's like really upset. And I was like, bro, this is real life. This is fun. This is real life. Do what you want to do. So I think Manny will be back with Alex and I here in the next few months. So it'll be the three amigos. So
good.
That'd be good. And shout out to Alex for stepping up. Like he's taking that role, and
it's taken a little bit to get him out of his shell, right? Like he was so kind of contempt, and he's slowly getting there. So it's been fun to watch him grow a little bit.
I think that's how it is with anybody that just first. I mean, it's how we were when we first.
Yeah, I don't even want to go back and watch our first episode. It'd be cringy.
we didn't know what we were doing, but you ease up. So
yeah.
What's up, Alex? Ron?
Hey, Ron. That's what I was cracking up at Alex. So James Ricci was walking around MTE interviewing everybody, and he's like, "Hey," me and Alex sitting there talking. He's like, "All right, you guys." And Alex is like going to take off running. I'm like, "What are you doing? You act like you're not live on a TV show or a podcast every week." Like,
it's you get used to it. Even my
Oh, yeah.
first, I did the show with Chris Ray and Dave O for years, and then left them. And my first show, I was a nervous wreck, like a train wreck, and I'm like, what the hell?
What happened?
I said, nobody's watching this stuff anyway. So
It's fun.
That's
It's funny.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say going back and looking like on Podbean where I put it all, and you can see the, how many people has downloaded it from Apple and all that. And then you go back and start. All right, like Bryce Kelly was our biggest. Who's gonna beat Bryce? And I think he's been beat a couple times, but
Yeah. Hacker
crazy.
said Ginger Shutt. He's gonna bring it home. How are you gonna bring it home? You ain't got a podcast.
that's funny.
Get out of here. And Stephen, that's hard to believe. Stephen used to be camera shy. Like he's freaking blowing it up on all the social media. And
Heck yeah.
I mean, we
it was
have
cool to meet
people.
him.
He's a super good dude. Him and Nick Priest both think the world of them guys. They're body guys coming over, and I think their eyes were really
doing
open.
phenomenal.
Yeah,
doing phenomenal on there. Not just the videos, but like seeing some of the PDR they've been doing lately since they both have been trained a little bit now. Doing good. So let's get into the actual show here. You know, we
can do this all night.
Yeah, we got Ryan on here, and like we do with everybody, Ryan, of course, we're going to get a quick how you got started into PDR, and then we're going to go into, of course, who's Ryan outside of the PDR world. So if you'll give us a quick, I say quick, I mean, it can take as long as you want.
We'll make it quick. We'll make it quick.
You know, how you heard about it, how you got into it to where you are now.
So I started, I was an inventory manager at CarMax and working there, and I started seeing these guys, and I was like, what the hell are these guys doing? They're running around the cars. And one day, an old friend of mine, Dave Johnson, rolled in. He's like, Ryan. I'm like, Dave, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I work for Dent Wizard. I'm one of the Dent guys here. I'm like, oh, that's what those guys are running around crazy with the drills in their hands and drilling holes in all the cars. And he's like, bro, we're making more money than God. And this was late 90s. And he's like, you ever want a job? You let me know. He goes, we're making so much money. You don't even know. And I was like, well, I got a really good job here at CarMax. You know, it was a good job. So I worked there for a while, watched him for like a year. And I was like, still living with my mom. And I was like, what do I got to lose? Let's try this. You know, it looks interesting. Let's do it. So I took the job, went to training, came back, and they had a straight Slade hailstorm in Texas. And at Dent Wizard School, there were a couple of us that were a little more advanced than the class. And they were like, you want to go with the hail team and do some R&Is? And I was like, sure, let's go. I've never been to Texas. Let's go. So we went to Texas, and I took more taillights out than I ever want to ever do ever again. Folding headliners in half and the good stuff back in the day. So, but then as soon as I got back and went to Maryland got crushed with this massive tornado and hail. So I actually spent time in a hotel for like a year doing hail. So I was green fixing big nasty hail. It was not pretty. So I worked for Dent Wizard. And it was funny because when I worked for Dent Wizard, I ended up being CarMax's tech because I knew all the systems. I knew all the management. It was just easy.
Yeah.
So we worked there forever. And then CarMax ended up going in-house and getting rid of Dent Wizard. So all my eggs were in one basket. They kicked us out. I had nothing. So I worked at their retail shop for a little while. And there was a lot of management changes, and there were five or six of us that actually ended up quitting at the same time. And I sat at home. It was one of those things, you know, you're 20 some years old. You really love pushing dents. It was a great job. And I sat at home, and I saved a ton of money because we were making really good money at CarMax pushing dents. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was scared to get sued. And then there's a guy, Jerry, reached out. He lived in Pennsylvania, and he's like, I'd love to hire you. I'm like, well, let's sit down and talk. And this was like 6 months after, because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So met with him, ended up working with him, taking a chance, got recertified. And a year and 8 months in, he calls me and says, Hey, well, let me back up a little bit. It was the weirdest time because when I quit Dent Wizard, I called my mom and I was like, "Hey, mom, I just quit my job. Can you come pick me up?" She's like, "Yeah, sure." She comes, picks me up. And then when I worked for Jerry, he called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, I need you to meet me here." I'm like, "What's up?" And he's like, "Oh, we just got to go over some things." So I drive over there and I was using his truck. And he goes, "Ryan, it's just not going to work out. I need you to empty the truck and you're going to have to get a ride home." And I was like, "What the hell?" I just straight got fired for nothing. "Hey, mom, can you come pick me up?" So she came and picked me up again, and
Poor mom.
the next day I got served papers from the Wiz. So they must have tipped him off and he let me go.
Dang.
And I didn't talk to Jerry. I'll be honest with you. I was pissed,
Yeah.
because we worked really well together. I didn't talk to Jerry until Mega Media event at Colorado. I was speaking there and I look in the crowd and Jerry's sitting there and I was like,
Son of a
this is the
bitch.
most awkward situation, right? But you know what? I just let it bygones be bygones. Me and him have talked quite a bit since, and we've never brought anything up, and it's just been like
Yeah.
nothing ever happened. The way I look at it is, it's a stepping stone, right?
Yeah.
So after I quit the Wiz, then I got sued. They did the cease and assist, which held me out from pushing dents for like almost a year. My buddy had a thing. All the scan companies that go around and scan cars, Clear, ADOS, and all that. Well, he was one of the main guys in our area that did that before all these big companies. He actually got bought by one of those big companies. So I worked with him for a couple months just till I figured out what was going to happen. And what that did, I look back now, what that did was it got my faces into the body shops. So I already built those relationships on his back. And then I left him and I ended up, a friend of mine owned a big body shop and needed help. And he's like, "Hey, we've always talked if you ever needed a job." And I was like, "Yeah, let's go." So I worked for him. I learned the insurance side and the body shop side, which I didn't really know fully. So it opened up that door too. And while I was working for him, I remember looking at my wife and I was like, "I'm going to start my own thing. As soon as this thing's over, I'm going to start my own thing." She's like, "Are you crazy? You're making really good money where you are. You don't have to work crazy hours." And I'm like, "Yeah." So I was doing dents, weekends, lunch, and the evenings. And I was like, "Man, we're getting busier. We're getting busier." And then I finally beat Dent Wizard. It took about a year. It was about 10 months. Beat them in court with all the legal stuff. And went to the guy that I was working for and said, "Hey, I'm going to have to go part-time. My dent stuff's really starting to take off." And he's like, "Okay, no big deal. I hate it, but I want you to grow." And then it was like 2 weeks later and I said, "Richard, I gotta turn my 2 weeks." He's like, "Man, you're killing me." He's like, "You're that busy?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then started RPS and just kind of kept growing. And the good thing is all the body shops that already had the relationships, I walked in like, "Oh, you're pushing dents now?" I was like, "I always push dents. I just never told you I pushed dents because I was under non-compete." And it just kind of was like a perfect slide in.
Now, when you curious about when you got sued, did you try to go back into the dealerships you were servicing for Dent Wizard?
No, I did really good. So I got recertified. I went out to Superior Institute in Cali, got recertified, which I pretty much taught the class. And
you
then
paid for a certificate.
Exactly. And I got to go to Cali for a couple days,
There you go. Nothing wrong with that.
But I worked in Pennsylvania, so I wasn't even in my state. I never went into any one of my other accounts. And when they came, they brought a huge stack of like every single dealership in Maryland. I was like, "How about this? I'll just stay at a CarMax because I have relationships there." And that's how everything finally ended.
I got you.
I don't know why. I think some of the other guys that got sued were kind of really pushing the limits, and they just kind of grouped us all together. Halfway through the lawsuit, they tried to hire me back, and I was like,
"Come on now,
you crazy, man," because they knew they were going to lose. They had nothing on me.
Yeah.
Right.
But the bad part with that is I've got this Dent Wizard here locally. There's a lot of them here. They just hate me. Like I'm the most hated. ex-Dent Wizard guy in the area. And some of it I poked the bear a little bit because I gave all
Why
my
not?
gear, my hats, my shirts, my stickers to all the local Dent Wizard guys. So their manager's like, "What the hell? You're wearing their stuff and all these pictures." So,
But I know you're still, Dave Johnson. You talked about him getting you in and stuff. Still cool.
oh
Dave
yeah,
Johnson, a phenomenal tech and even greater dude. And then you got Matt Phones up there. He's the same way in my book.
yeah.
Love those
And
guys. So.
it's funny because I was at the airport coming back from MT, and Kyle Violet was on my plane. And we're talking, and he's like, "Yeah, I was like, well, at least you guys, because they're opening up a retail shop up here for Dave and Matt Phones." And he's like, "Yeah, if we didn't do that, they were going to leave." I was like, "Oh, I was going to steal them. They weren't going to leave. I was going to steal them."
Yeah.
So, but you look back at things, you look at life, right? You look at life, and you're like, all this really shitty stuff is happening, right? Just terrible things. You lose your job because you're getting sued. You quit. They sue you. Then you lose your job working for another guy. You're like, what the hell, man? I'm 20 some years old getting sued, and they were suing me for like $1.5 million, like crazy amount, because they go off of some of your, back in the day, used to go off of your earnings and take a percentage of your earnings. But all of those shitty things were just a step to get me to where I am today.
Yep.
Sure.
You look at a really bad situation, but you have to look, if I didn't have that job with my friend that I was going in those accounts, it would have been a lot harder to grow. That's why as soon as we opened, it was just a rocket ship.
Right.
So
it's funny how things work out like that too. We've been, I've had my ups and downs through this industry, and everything's for a reason. It's obviously paid off. So
yeah,
makes you a stronger person too. You learn how to grind and get through the bullshit, and you're better off for it. So
yep. What year was it you started RPS?
Yeah, I don't even know.
It's like asking when your anniversary
I know.
is.
Exactly. I couldn't even remember the date. It was 2000. I don't know. I don't know the year, but it's been 15 years. So 15 years.
Okay.
Greg said I'd piss myself if I got sued for me.
Hey, you know what? I didn't have it. So what do you got to take? I'm living at home with my mom. I mean, Jesus.
Good
I'm
luck.
20 years old. Come get it.
It's so crazy how everybody's affected different. Like I stepped away, just went retail, no nothing, and then other people they kind of grind on them hard about that shit when they quit.
Yeah.
So
the Northeast is tough. There's a lot of Dent Wizards up here. I mean, Dave White's been lucky, but he's had really good relationships with the managers that were there. Mine was kind of a transition from old management to the new management, and they were just, let me put my name on these couple guys.
Yeah. Trying to make a statement.
Yeah. And I tell them all the time, I'd still be a Dent Wizard. It was funny because last year they have that thing at MT that's like the timeline for Dent Wizard. So I went in and put Ryan started, Ryan quit, Ryan got sued, Ryan beat Dent Wizard, It was freaking great. And they looked at me. He was like, really? And I was like, what?
What happened?
But it was cool for me because I got to mentor. That's how I met Dave O.
Okay.
Dave O called me and he's like, hey, because the lawyer I have is amazing. He's in Missouri. He has an office in DC. So that's how it works. So I didn't have to go to Missouri for court. But Dave O called me and was like, hey, I'm thinking about leaving. What steps do I need to take? It was cool to mentor a lot of those guys. It was cool to mentor a lot of those guys and just kind of help them feel a little more at ease after I got my shit kicked in. So
that's kind of what I've been doing too. Like there's guys that on the fence, and I'll always be the first to tell anybody, like, if you're in a great situation with Dent Wizard, then why leave? Like just keep doing what you're doing. But if you're in a situation like I was or you was or whoever else, like, yeah, I mean, what do you got to lose? So
yeah. I mean, I get it. They have to, I make my guys sign it too. So I totally understand it on the business end. You have to protect your investment. But at the end of the day, I made those guys a shit ton of money, dude.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but it was a learning experience for me. I learned that end.
Yep. Like I said, you're stronger for it. So
yeah, and then do you want me to go to where I am now, or you want me to just stop there?
Yeah, no.
Keep on rolling.
So we did retail for a long time. I had a friend that had body shop, and he's like, hey, if you want to use my space, it's yours. You can use the girl up front. You can do whatever. So I work like every Saturday, just building retail. And I used this girl up front, and it worked really well. Waiting room, and we used that for 7 years using
Wow.
his shop.
Wow.
He ended up selling right before the pandemic, and then I ended up getting a space up the street, which was connected to a chemical guy's detail garage.
Okay.
1,400 square foot space, and it worked great. It was perfect for me. It was perfect during the pandemic, which was tough too, because I ended up closing for 7.5 weeks. So we got that space, and after we reopened, it worked really well because I just had them drop it off, and they could pay over the phone and pick it up. And I came to a realization that, I always wanted multiple trucks, multiple guys on the road, kind of build my own little small Dent Wizard kind of business. But I only got the realization this shit is hard to grow a dent business, man. It is hard. It's really hard to get guys and train them. And, you put all this money and time in them and they leave. It's just really hard scale set. I have a couple friends that own like landscaping businesses or plumbers, and they've got a shit ton of guys in them. He's like, got to keep hiring. I'm like, it's different, dude. It's different. This business is different than most businesses to scale. And I was like, I sat with my wife and I was like, what are we going to do? What's the next step? And we were like, let's do more services. Who's coming in for what? Well, we do a lot of Teslas, and we pull the paint protection film off. Let's try that. So I called every paint protection film company, and they were like, nope. We've already got people in your area. Nope. I mean, everywhere I called. And there was the last company that I called, Jamie Warner from Premium Shield. He was actually at MTE, had the Equipped Academy with the half at Tesla.
Oh, yeah.
And he literally sat on the phone with me for like 2.5 hours and was like, look, I get it. I know where you are. I can help. So I signed on with him, and I didn't even have anybody to do the work, And a buddy of mine that worked at that body shop, Mikey, we've been friends for 15 years or 20 years, something like that. And he was like, I'm ready to get out of here because it's sold. And he's like, I don't like change. And I said, if you're willing to take a pay cut, let's do this. And he did. He took a pay cut, came on, trained. And it was funny because after he got trained, it's like, we're going to do a couple families' cars and then a couple friends' cars, and we'll just slide into it. We were right into the Corvettes, brand new Corvettes. I mean, it was like immediate, But we worked at a 1,400 square foot shop.
Kiss my ass, Kevin.
And it was fun to still kind of grow a new business. The dent business was running. I had Shane working with me, and then had Mikey, and we were growing that. But I explained to a lot of guys, any of these extra services that you add, it's a learning curve, dude, because you don't know. We were all in. I went and bought a plotter. I bought all the stuff. When it gets hot and you don't have air conditioning controlled environment, you're throwing all that film in the trash, man. You're going to waste everything. So we waste thousands and thousands of dollars because we didn't know. I bought one of those little movable air conditioners, plugged it in, vented it outside, and
what I do, all I did was shake my head.
And it still didn't do it. So
yeah,
we added ceramics. Then Mikey got trained in window tint too. And we were looking for space. It took me 7 months, and we found the space that I'm in now that is right across the street. Okay. But it needed $100,000 worth of renovations.
But it's beautiful now. Like all the pictures of that shop.
Turned out nice.
It's gorgeous.
And we just added. So I kept that space, my original space, and we just added more space next to it. So another like 3,700.
Oh, wow.
So it's not all on the same building, but it's right across the street. A lot of times I've got a little electric scooter, and if I have to run over there real quick, I'll just ride the scooter down across the street.
That's awesome.
We need video of that.
Yeah.
Mikey was like, you just jumped that off the curb. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty funny. Take a little bag of tools and you run across the street. It's great.
I want to talk about your PPF. I've heard from other people that PPF's kind of got a learning curve a lot like PDR. It's not an overnight process.
It is. It's Jamie Warner. I owe a lot to him. He was a huge mentor. He still is, and I don't even buy product from him. I haven't bought product from him since we've been with Expel.
What's the Ritchie Highway store?
There's this place that's open. Ritchie Highway's like, they call it the Ritchie 500. It's like this huge road that in the summertime they drag race. There's hot rods. It's a huge car town. And there's a place right next to my Honda store that they're trying to get rid of. And it's a great place, but I've got too much now. Like, we're good, man. And to be honest with you, I don't like to be like, our road is busy. It's really busy. But Ritchie Highway is even busier, and you're all up in it. People will all be. I like to kind of be hidden a little bit, little off the path, a little bit. So
probably get less tire kickers that way.
Not even that. I feel like the best restaurants are hidden, right? The best stuff is kind of hidden around the corner. But
I like how Mike Mack shows up to your shop and can't come by mine. That's rude.
He did pop
Look,
up.
I'm even repping Kiko, and I can't even get no. I had Danny Hacker come by. So.
He's good friends. He's good friends with a local tech, Keyshawn. So he stopped up, saw me, ran up, had dinner with Keyshawn. I only had a little bit with him because that place, since we opened that store, it's a freaking madhouse, dude. Me and my wife were sitting there saying, we're looking at the numbers, trying to figure out where the increase came, because we had a huge increase since last year. And, is it advertising? Is it social media? What is it? And
what increased, PDR or,
all of it,
everything,
exactly. I just can't put my thumb on it. I feel like it's just awareness, after you've been there a little while, awareness makes a big difference. So,
we've noticed that.
Word of mouth
too.
Yeah. I was say word of mouth's the best. I was telling somebody that the other day. That's the best advertise. The girl that stopped by from the radio station. That's what it was. Wanting me to advertise. I'm like, no. I said I did that last year. A little 1 week SEC Media Day thing for $800. I mean, they mentioned I got 0 calls from it.
Yeah. We've tried stuff like that. If it ain't like, Google or something like that, ain't
a little bit of Google for me, but word of mouth is the majority of my business. But it took time getting established, and anyway, how it is.
And that's what I was going to say. Coming up on our second year mark in the shop, I've noticed this winter's been busier than any time I've ever had in the winter. It's just, I think it's been established. People know we're here, and it's helped out tremendously. So,
and they say 4 to 5 years. You know what I mean? In a fixed location, to where you're really getting to that point. I don't know.
You're getting estimates on the podcast. Charles got an F-150 for you. Nice.
Oh shit!
I want some estimates on the podcast.
Oh man, it never stops, dude. It's. I've got. We go back to what I said, and I tell this to a lot of the younger guys I talk to. Talk to everybody when you go into these accounts. See everybody, the wash guy, the estimator, the floor sweeper, everybody, because people like Charles was a body guy, was a painter. They're your advocates. You don't have to spend any money.
Yeah.
Alex said, everybody in Glen Burnie.
He did. He rode around with me one day and he's like, bro, I don't have accounts like this. It's like the whole shop stops. It's like, boop, and everybody's, hey, Ryan, what's going on? It's fun, but you got to get shit done, man. I'm usually running around like my ass is on fire.
Right.
So.
Man, I do remember Greg stopping by the shop, but he don't work for Kiko. It was specifically for Kiko. I did forget he was on the podcast.
Exactly. I was about to say.
It all runs together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I said, I love seeing your social media content. The shop's gorgeous, and it's always full of vehicles, like nice vehicles, like all the time.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know what I mean? You look at
it. How big is that? The shop that your main shop?
So the main shop is 4,200 square.
42. Okay.
So then I have two 1400s across the street, and then I just added 37. And they're
Wow.
cheap. The stuff across the street is cheap. You know, that's the problem is Maryland. Like my rent in my big space is $4,300 a month. You know, if you wanted to buy something like Andy has, you'd be $3.5 million here.
Holy crap!
Really?
Commercial realty is out of control here.
That's insane.
I need that here. I'd sell this son of a bitch in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat. Come on.
It's crazy here. Like
I'd
everything I looked
retire.
at
Yeah.
was like for rent, like in between $17 and $25 a square foot.
Mm.
So
Yeah, we got really lucky with this place. Like we were looking at renting, and it was 5,000 a month, 8,000 a month, something stupid. And somebody just happened, is like, I got something you might be interested in. I was like, I want. And as soon as I figured out what it was, like, I want it. Don't even care what it looks like inside.
yeah,
So,
that's the thing. Any of these, you know, you look at guys and you got to start somewhere, right? Like you can't. You got to figure out what you like at first. You know, even my shop, we look at things and we're like, we should have did this differently. By the time you're done doing all this, you know what you really need and what you want in a shop wise.
mhm.
But it's been me and Matt Moore talked for a long time at MT, and I was like, it's been the biggest learning experience in the last couple of years. Just employees, new business, new services. It's been fun. You know, I enjoy that part. I enjoy pushing dents, but my end all be all goal is to get enough dent guys in there to where I can sit up front, manage, and sell. I'm really good with the customer. So
That's awesome.
that's what I want to do is kind of be the face and just handle it all up front. And, you know, I got some really good guys though.
How many do you have
lucky.
total?
Right now we're back down to 4. So, you know, we had 6, but we're down to, it's, what is it? 1, 2. Yeah, it's 4 of us.
And you need about 10, right?
I could use 5 more people, really.
Yeah,
and they would all be busy.
That's crazy.
You know? Nice. But you never know. It could stop tomorrow.
Right. That's what I live on. Like, why are you always anxious? Because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Let's keep it growing.
But you know what? At the end of the day, one thing I've learned with the pandemic, I've been trying to steal Pete from Kevin because Pete was from Maryland and at MT, I was like, Pete, I threw $100 on the ground. I was like, Pete, sure you don't want to come back? We could start with this. What the hell was that? I lost track. Kevin, you can't do that, man. I can't remember what the hell I was talking.
He's good at that. He messes me up all the time when I'm trying to work, and he gets me sidetracked. I'm like, what the hell was I doing before he called?
Oh, one thing I've learned about the pandemic during the pandemic was I was scared to take that leap, right? I was always scared to do it. After the pandemic, I was like, let's go. My wife's like, what's changed? And I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, because if we're going to crash and burn, let's crash and burn hard. Let's just not a little bit. We're going to really crash and burn. So
12 at our shop. Dang. People are a challenge. That's crazy.
Oh my gosh. It is. The hardest thing right now is not fixing cars, not doing what we do. It's people, you know, trying to find the right people. And I have some friends that are really successful in business that kind of chirp in my ear, you know, and they don't always understand our business, but they were like, hire and fire early. That's all they tell me, you know. So
I've heard that a lot.
The last one that I did let go was quick, you know, and I was sure of it. You know, you just know it's time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's another thing the pandemic brought us was people getting free money, so it's hard to find people.
It's terrible.
Like, you mean I could work and get paid, or I could sit at home and get paid? Yeah, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
They come out better with
cards. Yeah. Just finding those rare little things you can find it, like paying for gold.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just had a kid, fantastic young kid. His mom was one of my customers. And he came when he interviewed, he said, look, I've been trying to get in the Air Force for the last 4 years. I've been trying to get on this medical waiver. I'm working on it. I don't know if I'll get picked or not. And he came to me a month ago and says, the 9th is my last day. They're taking me. And I was like, oh man, you're killing me. he was so great. He turned into such a good help, you know.
Yeah.
He worked at Chick-fil-A before, so he had the customer service. And
Oh, absolutely.
what are you gonna do, right? Like, what are you gonna? I've got like a really heartfelt Facebook post for tomorrow, so he's probably gonna cry because it's super nice. But you know, I said to my wife, I'm not gonna hold him back from my dreams because it's the same thing that I did when I was at the body shop to my friend,
Mhm.
you know. So, but it's people, man. That's your hardest part.
Yeah, I can see that. So we only got one employee, and I'm spoiled. Our one employee that we've gotten is amazing. So I'm like, I'm gonna have high standards for the next one, and I don't know that it'll ever happen. So
It's hard. It's hard.
See, I'd love an employee, but I hear all the negative of it. That's why I'm still at 0.
we've not had any negatives. We're great. We're one
You
for
just
one.
gotta
so
get
far.
you get the
But
right people.
you've gone
Yeah.
through the issues too of trying to hire
Oh, I mean, it's
other,
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so
they need off. They've got kid problem. You know, it's always something. You know, but I got great people, man. You know,
That's
I got
awesome.
some great guys that have my back. That if I'm not there, I know that they're making the right decision, and I don't question them. I don't give them a hard time even if it's wrong. We just deal with it.
yeah.
hmm
So
Yeah.
Alex said everybody's goal he talked to his age is 5 to 10 years. People don't want to work anymore. Must have been
Yeah.
all hell guys. We're gonna
Probably.
crush it, bro, for 5 years, bro, and then we out.
But man, you hear that on everybody. What's your 5-year plan? 5 years, I'm going to retire. That's
Yeah,
everybody's plan.
9 years, I'm done.
got 9
Cashing
in
it
you.
in. I'm 46. I'll be 55. I'm done.
What I mean, obviously that's 9 years from now, so a lot could change. But what's your sell a business?
I don't
Keep
know.
it running.
You know, I would love to be honest with you. You know, I mean, if somebody came and said, "Hey, we'll give you 15 or 20 million," I hate to do it, guys, but I'm out.
Yeah.
But I would love for one of these guys to really take the reins and just keep it going. Make a
Mhm.
partner. I'll make a little portion, do as little as I can, and just let them kind of run with it. You know, and that's how some of these guys really take this business like it's their own.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's would be the perfect dream.
Sure. Never say never.
That's it.
Let's get into your personal life since we interviewing. We got all that. I mean, like I said, we could talk shop all
Oh
night
yeah,
long. That's not hard to
100%.
do.
So a lot of guys, when I started our PS, are like, "Man, your marketing, your branding, your marketing, that's all got a history too." There's a lot of stuff people don't know. Back in the day, I used to build show cars. You know, so we used to do show cars all over the place, and I was a big Honda guy. And I built this out of the box, totally crazy orange Civic, and got a lot of attention, a lot of corporate sponsors. I learned how to, you know, get sponsors, going and talking to people and selling myself. And same thing we do now, right? Like going into new accounts and trying to sell yourself. It was the
Yeah.
same concept.
Mhm.
So I built this car. I had some really great physical corporate sponsors. You know, one of them is like I would say he's just about my brother Edmund. And he was the main marketing guy. Do you remember the absorber chamois?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was him. Like he
Really?
was the marketing director for that company. So I learned a lot from him on like grassroots marketing. So we built that car, and I told him what my dreams were for the car. Make it in magazines, do as many events as I could, make it to SEMA. Well, we killed the magazines. I mean, that car, I think it has like 27 publications worldwide, 3 covers. And then we got it to SEMA. So when it was at SEMA, we were getting shot for a bunch of UK magazines, Max Power, and all those really hard Redline and all the foreign magazines. And then it was sitting outside the convention center, and we were walking out to it to go get it into a booth at SEMA. And I saw all these corporate people standing around in suits, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And they're like all over the windows and all over the car. And it was like 15 or 20 of them. Well, I walked up and I'm like, can I help you guys? And they're, you know, I remember this Sarah Long, and she looks over and she's like, hey, do you own this? I said, yeah, you should talk to me about the car a little bit. And she's like, here's my card. Come see me tomorrow. And she is a marketing director for Honda Motor Corporation. So Honda motor cars. So we go the next day. I walk up to her and she's like, "You have a couple minutes?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." She goes, "Would you be interested in building cars for us?" And I was like Honda? And she's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "All right, call me when we get after SEMA and we'll figure something out." So build this crazy proposal, submit it to them. They end up giving me a car for SEMA for next year, which sounds awesome. It sounds like a fantastic thing, but the part you don't realize is you're building a car nobody has. So there's no parts to do. You have to make everything.
Yeah.
It has to be completely hidden. So you can't even solicit sponsors to get parts because the car is not available here. So with that original orange car, we won a huge award there. It was called the Maxed Out Award for Dunlop tires. So it was like a couple thousand people. You know, that was when I was like really nervous, get this award. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know what to say, you know. But we got a lot of recognition. And then we built the first Honda, and I was still pushing dents in between all this. So I'm taking calls, trying to sell myself to sponsors and working at the same time.
All the anxiety.
You just did what you can. You know, you had people like Edmund, my buddy Josh that's in here also. He works at Polk Audio. So I was a huge Polk Audio sponsorship, and they're like, "Hey, we've got to hook up with Dunlop. Hey, we've got to hook up with a brake company." So it was just kind of a hand in hand, and it worked really well. And I used their shop a lot of times to build these cars, you know. So I remember having like an intern badge at Polk Audio. I thought I was the shit, like intern, man. But we built that car, debuted at SEMA, got a ton of recognition. And then the next few years after that, we won another Dunlop award with that car. And some other stuff. We won awards all over. And all of these cars traveled the whole world. I mean, they were California, South, Florida, Canada. They were everywhere. And when you get hooked up with Honda, they take the cars. So they got to transport them. So I didn't have to worry about it. It was a lot of flying. It was when I first met my wife. And I was never here. I'd work during the week. I'd fly out on Friday, go to a show, fly home Sunday, back to work. And that was life for a long time. So I built the Honda Fit after that, and then a Honda Pilot. And probably the pinnacle of that whole thing for me was I was the first independent builder for Honda, just like a random guy, not a company. And then I remember sitting there looking at the Honda booth, and I've got 2 cars in SEMA at the Honda booth that I built. Like that was just such an epic thing for me. But I think a lot of the reason I am where I am right now is because of that, right? It's helped me learn how to sell myself. It also built a lot of relationships, and Edmund taught me a lot with marketing and branding, you know. That was I give a lot to him. There was a lot that he did for me in that point to really teach me to grow.
So what'd you do with all your trophies from
You don't want to know. I kept a couple. I got 3 left. I got 3 trophies left because they're actually really nice. But there was a local guy. Hopefully nobody hears this. It's watching, but whatever. I had a basement before we moved. We had a basement full of trophies, like full of, I mean, a shit ton of trophies. And this local guy used to go around and always try to beat me at shows, you know, just always try. It was just like his life duty just to beat me. So one night we were moving out of this house, and one night me and my buddy drove up and filled the back of the truck up, drove to his house and put them all in his front yard and rolled out. So the next morning when he came out, it was covered in trophies.
That's awesome.
There you go.
So
did y'all take photos of that?
We did not. This was all before really social media. We didn't have social media.
No, but you had digital cameras.
Polaroid.
We did have some Polaroids.
How old were you at the time of all this?
20s, early 20s, man.
Really?
You know, I built the orange car when I was working with
metal.
Dent Wizard. So
yeah, that's really cool.
But I still have that original orange car. We actually started right before the pandemic. So it was 2018, 2019, we started redoing it. and it's done. It just needs to be put back together.
Mm.
So the interior is not finished, but the motor's done. The whole body's done. It's just sitting there. Mike saw it. We walked over and I showed it.
Yeah,
over
he was
there on my
asking if you had
storage.
it running again yet.
Absolutely not. It looks exactly like it did when you were there.
When you got time for that?
You know, but that was pretty much it. All the cars that I built for Honda, they kept the Honda Fit, so it's in the Honda museum at Honda. But the rest of them were crushed. So I got to
Really?
strip them, and they crushed them because they didn't have VINs. They were pre-production hand-built cars. So, that was a trial. I mean, there was a lot of stuff like iBox springs. Everybody knows iBox springs. I took the springs off of my car and shipped them to iBox so they could build springs and have them ready to go for SEMA for people that bought that car when it was released.
Really?
So there's a lot of cool stuff like that we got to be part of. You know, I mean, I worked some deals where like, hey, you pay for my flight and my hotel, and I'll give you these springs so you can make millions of dollars off of them. So, but it was a cool experience. You know, that was pretty much what I did. I mean, I still am a Honda guy. I got my orange car. I've got a Civic Type R sitting here in my garage right now. Just always been my thing. You know, the Type R is only 20. I bought it in 21 after the pandemic because they were stopping to make that body style, and I knew where it was going. And my wife's like, "You always wanted one. You always want," and it's got 1,100 miles on it. I don't drive it. So,
what color is it?
It's white, championship white.
Sweet.
So, you know, that's it.
I've probably seen these builds in magazines because I grew up like a teenager and a little older. Like I was all into the Euro cars and everything.
I used to sit in booths and sign autographs for like 10 hours for Polk Audio.
Johnson drive that shit.
It was a cool and you know, it was cool I remember being a kid and going to, what was it? God damn, I don't remember the name of the store, but you would go and it would be all these magazines, and I would grab Month's magazine. I'm like, am I in this thing? You know. Well, I've got probably 20 plaques down there with all the cars and all the magazines, and I'm like, what am I gonna do with this shit? You know what I mean? Like,
I wouldn't be able to get rid of it. Like I can get rid of almost anything, but that would be nah.
I bought every single magazine. When the first cover I was on, I bought every copy that my wife would go and be like, I got 16 here. I got 14. And we got so many. I got plastic bin full of the same magazine. But that was it, man. That was life, you know. And you look at, I go back to preaching again of just your history, you know, things you did in your past.
Did you scare Alex?
I did scare him a little bit. You look back and that stuff contributed to where I am. You know, there's a lot of stuff we did that was out of the box that made your uncomfortableness go away. Now it's, I can walk into a dealer. If you don't like me and you don't want to try me, I get it.
Yeah. That's huge. You mentioned your wife a little bit. So how long y'all been married?
What was I about to say?
20 years. 20 years. Wow. Yeah.
20 years. How many kids?
Yeah. I got a 9-year-old daughter.
Okay.
So she's got her brains and my personality. So it's bad. It's bad. It's bad. You know, it's funny because we'll be sitting on the couch. We'll be sitting on the couch and watching something, and me and her are just laughing. And my wife just looks at it and she's like, I'm like, what? She's like, what are you guys laughing at? We just both look at each other. You know, it's just, she's me. She's me 100%. So
that's awesome. And it's cool having a wife. You're talking about, you know, she's like, you always wanted this car, get it. Like having a supportive wife like that. I got one, man. That's great. But anything I want, go get it. You deserve it. You know, that helps a lot.
Yeah, TJ's a car guy. Y'all listen to last week's episode, but definitely a car guy.
Yeah, always loved them. Fast and Furious came out, like my little '94 Eclipse ripping and shredding shit. Rip the clutch out of it.
That was the years, man. There was a lot of stuff we did. I mean, there's a lot of magazines that I look back and I'm like, that's my advertisement. Like that we didn't advertise it. You know, there's like one of my favorites was Stuart Warner Gauges. They did an ad and my car's jacked up and my whole body's in the wheel well and all you see is my ass and my leg and my thing. And it said something like sleep is not necessary or something. And it's just every time I look at it, I'm like, that took 15 hours to shoot and all you see is my back half. You know what I mean? So we've got some really good stories. I mean, there was a time to where I could walk at SEMA and be like, I'll take one of them. I'll take one of them. And they would be like, whatever you want, whatever you want.
That's huge.
You know, but things have changed. You know, social media has taken over. We never had that.
Yeah.
If we had social media, I don't know where I would be.
Right.
Because it would be totally different. You know, you don't know what the opportunities would have brought. It's just so different. Even now, like when I'm rebuilding this car, when I went to go get sponsors, like we printed out like this really, really nice magazine. Like you go to the dealer and you get a Civic brochure from the dealer. Like we printed this really nice thing. And we go to SEMA trying to get sponsors like I used to do forever. And they were like, just email it to me. I'm like, yo, I spent a shit ton of money on these things. Like, you're going to take it. Throw it in the trash. Just take it. But this times have changed. You know, it's if you don't have 1 billion followers on Instagram, you're not shit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
it's hard. Like, you know, that video we made today, like, thinking it really hit, and it's not really. I mean, I think Facebook is doing okay. Instagram not doing shit. It's like, man, like, what's it gonna take?
You've been doing a really good job. I've been watching your stuff. Like you popping out of the back seat of that truck. You know, just things that you're doing a really good job. That it's been enjoyable. I wish I looked at my wife the other day. You were doing something else with your guy, and I was like, "Look at this." She's like, "What?" I'm like, I wish I had the time that these guys have. I just don't have the time.
Understandable. Yeah. It's not necessarily a good thing that I have that much time to do all that. Which, I mean, I owe all that to Amanda. She I'll come up with an idea, she comes up with an idea, and we just make it happen, and she crushes it. And I don't know. Cool. And
it's awesome.
Stefan, Ash, and Nick talk to them guys a lot in MTE, and they're like, hey, man, it's talking about a hook. Like, that's me popping out of the car, just something that grabs that attention first. So I owe a lot of credit to people that's kind of stepped up and helped me with all that. Did you go on a fantastic voyage?
We did party with Coolio one year. You know,
awesome.
That's a perk we did have. We met a lot of celebrities, and we're on a different level with a lot of these celebrities. So it was cool. It was cool to get to know a lot of these guys, and you know, some different. Coolio's an interesting feller. So
I could see that. Well, I wouldn't make it. I fanboyed off of you. I can only imagine hanging out with Coolio.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'll never.
You get to a point, man. You don't even like. I mean, we went to Chip Foose. We went to dinner with Chip Foose. You know what I mean? Like, it was just a regular. When you're in that different group, it's kind of like being at MTE.
Yeah.
You know, people look up to you guys. It's just a little different because you're in it. You know, you're not just a guy that's watching it. You're physically in that end of the business. So it was a good thing. But it got to a point to where I was like, Honda's like, hey, do you want another car next year? No. You know, I said, here's another guy that's doing it, and I handed it off to another guy that was trying to get to where I was, and
wasn't the same guy you put all the trophies in his yard with.
No,
you already know that.
No.
I know.
Don't use this guy, but I got this guy.
Yeah. You know, and they still call periodically and to see how I'm doing and if I'm interested, or, you know, I just don't have the time. You know, it got to a point where I was like, I need to really do something with my life. Like, this is great living like a rock star and thinking I'm the shit. But I was also a real dick back in the day, you know.
Really?
The ego was much bigger, you know, and now I look back and it doesn't really, it's great. I enjoy talking to people on MT and people reaching out and taking pictures. And back then I was a dickhead, you know.
Really?
But that's because I learned, you know, I was like, I'm not going to do that again.
Right.
So.
Man, I feel like everybody knows you better than us. You got a neighbor crabber, famous crabber.
Luke. Yeah. Luke, if you want to check him out on TikTok, he's done Luke McFadden. He's just a local crabber, and he just started TikTok. He's all over the news, and oh my God, he's literally right up the street. I mean, he's everywhere, but he just kills it with content, man. He just does a great job. You know?
Right. Mike said that you can holler at Honda, tell him he'll be able to build some Hondas for him.
Man, it was cool because I got to drive on their tags, so. Like, I would drive these really crazy cars. Like, my Honda Fit had big chrome nitrous tanks hanging out the back glass. And I mean, every car we built was over the top because I had pretty much free budget with all the manufacturers. So like Polk Audio would just handle all the builds and all the, materials. And I had a really good group of guys, Glenn and my buddy Josh, put a ton of their time into building these cars. And I didn't take it as it was my car. It was us. It was the team. But we used to drive on California distributor tags. And I remember driving to the beach one year because it's only like 2 hours away from here. And the state police pulling us over. And I'm like, everything okay? This thing is so far Maryland illegal. It's got every illegal thing you could put on this thing. And he's like, I just need to verify the license. And I'm like, okay. He's like, do you have registration? I'm like, it's on the back of the tag. It's like a dealer tag. Well, we've never seen one. Okay. So got to get out there and take the tag off. What I think they wanted to do is look at the cars.
Yeah.
So
why does it not have a VIN?
Exactly. What's going on here?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
It's got $1 million worth of insurance policy, so we're good.
You're good.
But I remember being on the side of the road and everybody's passing us. It's a big car show weekend, so it was like all these cars are passing us, and we're just pulled over there, and all the doors are open, the gates open, and the police are all over us. And I'm like, "Here you go. Here's the paperwork showing we have enough insurance." They just had to verify it. So, but.
When you're still big in the car scene too, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
You do car shows at your shop and everything, like you host shows. That's awesome. I'd love to do that.
It's a lot of work. This year, I think I usually do one big show a year. It just takes so much out of us to do.
Yeah.
I think this year we've been so busy. Business has exploded over here. I've never done the numbers that I've done in the winter. My wife's like, when's the shoe going to drop? When's the shoe going to drop? When's the shoe going to drop? I'm like, please drop. Let's take a break. But I think this year we're just going to take a pause. We're going to do some little stuff throughout the year. We're just not going to do that really big one. Every time I do it, it rains. So,
really?
I paid for a food truck. I think it was like $1,500 for the food truck to be there and gave everybody like tickets, and it was raining. Last year wasn't huge, but we still did pretty well. This year we're going to do some stuff with the Porsche Club of America. So they're going to do some like tech meet stuff at our location, just kind of some different stuff. But maybe some more canned food drives. There's John in here. He's big with that. So, and there's a local church like on my same street, and I just give them the food. But we'll see. It's a lot of work, man. It's when you go extra, everybody says you don't do any events. Like there's always like the auto show or the big car shows here. And I was like, bro, by the weekends, I'm done. I don't want to talk dents. I don't want to see dents. I don't want to be here. I want to vanish into my little hole over here where I live and act like nobody knows who I am.
What are you on the weekends? What are you and your wife and daughter? What kind of activities y'all get into?
Hang out for the most part. The good thing is both of them are kind of homebodies too. So,
nice.
We usually summertime, I usually invite Maryland's big with crabs, so I'll have my friends over and I'll go pick crabs up and we'll sit on my deck and we get a TV out there and we'll watch the Oriole game or whatever's on TV and eat crabs and just chill, drink some beer and just hang out. That's pretty much what I enjoy to do. That's my relaxed time.
Yeah.
I need to get up there sometime to get a Ravens game with you.
I don't go to the games. I don't like to get beat up.
I can see that.
I'll be honest with you. I haven't been to one game in a couple years. I like sitting on my couch watching the game. I deal with people all day long and dealing with the parking, the traffic, and how crazy that stadium is. I'd rather not have somebody piss on my shoes while I'm in the bathroom and stuff. So, a lot of times we'll just sit here. We just sit here and watch the Ravens. I mean, we'll pass tickets. People will reach out all the time and be like, hey, you want tickets? Hey, you want tickets? Nope, you can have them. You sure? They're lower level. I'm like, you can have them. I'm good.
All right.
But we just kind of chill. We go to the beach quite a bit. I grew up down there, so I have family and friends, and we'll go to the restaurants and stuff, and we'll be sitting there waiting for a bill, and they'll be like, don't worry about it. It's on us, So it's a nice get away for
Yeah.
2-hour drive to go to the beach is
It's not
you
bad
know,
at all.
no.
That's kind of what it is with us during the summer.
Especially if Bankhead Tunnel jacked up.
Oh God, I can't go that way.
Bankhead.
Is that really the name of it?
Well, the tunnel, yeah, downtown Mobile, the old tunnel. It's 12-foot clearance, and it has chains, giant marquees, sirens that go off when the trucks come in there, and both ends. It's every freaking day, just cut the tops of trucks off, and you got
Hell
to pull them
yeah.
out. So they started on the marquee. Somebody took it over and has been putting funny ass shit up there all the time. It's crazy. I thought they'd have something funny for Mardi Gras. It just says closed.
They're like,
That's
we
funny.
had ideas. They're like us
Yeah.
and social media.
Yeah.
That's been awesome. Amanda said she got yelled at by a drunk guy at Camden Yards when she's on a church trip. I can see that.
Everything here is different, my friend. It's a very different place to live. You know, they had for the longest time they had a thing called squeegee boys, and you'd come up to a light and they would spray piss water on your windshield and squeegee it off and want money and
Yeah.
fight you if you don't give them money. They'll kick your. We make a lot of money from them because they kick the cars and tear them up and shit. You know, it's funny because people come in, they're like, I just can't believe this happens. You know, this guy just. I'm like, they're on my payroll. They're like, look at me like I'm fucking crazy. Like, yeah, they're on my payroll. So, but the Oriole games are fun. You should come up. You should come up for an Oriole game. That's a cool stadium to really check out.
Okay.
You know, and that culture's changed a lot with the Orioles actually winning. I had season tickets for like 17 years, and then stopped because I just was too busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Only thing I know about Baltimore is The Wire. Is it like The Wire, the show?
There are parts like The Wire. There are.
Like,
There are
good God,
parts.
that makes me. I'm like, nah, I'm good.
There are some places to where I actually have some accounts down there. It's 7 a.m. Guys are walking the streets with 40s, and I'm like, yo, it's 7 a.m. Like, what are you doing? You know, but that's right where that all was filmed. You know, a lot of that stuff was real. A couple of the actors I'm still friends with.
Really?
Because a lot of it was local talent.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, if you guys haven't watched The Wire, watch The Wire.
I just watched it like this past year. I got into it and like binge watched the shit out of it and love it.
See that Davo talking about the
like, CVS burned down.
North Avenue is gnarly. You want to see some shit? You go to North Avenue. I told Josh when Josh moved here from Colorado, I was like, there's 3 things you don't do. You don't go hang out in the Inner Harbor. You don't drive to North Avenue. And if the light turns red, keep driving.
That bad.
So
I'm down here, yeah, especially coming from Dixon. I'm sure it'd be another world for me. I'd be like, I don't know. I'm good.
But most of the time, I mean, you tell people I'm from Baltimore. It's got such a bad name. Like where my shop is not even where I live up here. I mean, I'm 40 minutes from my shop. It's nothing like. I mean, it's like an average old place. You know, Baltimore. We really don't do a whole lot in Baltimore. You know, back in the day, we used to go out and party and act like we were invincible. There ain't no way in hell I would go do it right now, and I'd have a gun in my back pocket.
Yeah.
So, it's just different. You know, even Mike, no way.
Stayed in Inner Harbor.
Yeah,
the one place you're not supposed to go.
It's just a different place, man. You know, it's not. The cops don't even do anything. You know,
Bloody more Murderland.
That's it, man. It's got, like I said, it's got a terrible name, but most of the stuff in the city's closed. You know, it's like a rundown. It reminds me of like East St. Louis. You know, where everything's run down and dirty, and it's like that, dude.
I remember PDR school. That's like, let's go to East St. Louis.
We did one time. We were trying to go to the strip club that was on like that ferry across the bridge, and we got off the exit. And we get off and we come around and there's a burned down police car, and I was like, we need to get the fuck out of here. I'm from Baltimore and we gotta go.
Yeah, East St. Louis. Made cool that place. One trip. It's like, it's perfect. Y'all go have fun there.
Cool place.
Well, cool, man. We've gone over an hour, so I know it's Valentine's Day, and hopefully all you guys got your wives and your daughters, and let them get your son something. But hopefully you took care of your
I'm
girls.
such a jerk. I didn't get anything. I'll stop at the gas station and get a Hershey bar. So.
Mine hates me anyway, so
Yeah.
it's all good. It's funny because I gave it to him last night, and I got her one of these heart shaped, the big candy red heart candy boxes.
Mhm.
It's got a big Lima on the front of it with its tongue out. As soon as she looked at it, she's like, "Did you get this because of the Lima or because it's my favorite candy?" And I was like, "The Lima." Sure.
That's awesome.
So
Man, it's too bad I heard that. Well, in my defense, this morning when we woke up, she's like, I don't really care about Valentine's Day. That our anniversary and stuff means more to me. Noted.
Well, if Mandy wouldn't have told me last night when I was leaving the shop, hey, I forgot to get candy, will you run by Walmart? Got a card and a
she
bag
gave
of
you a pass.
kisses.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
So anyway,
Yeah,
hey,
this has been an amazing show. I've
Yeah.
loved every minute of it. Like I said, I could sit here all night, especially if it wasn't Valentine's Day. But
I appreciate you guys inviting me, and you guys are doing a really good job, dude. I tell people all the time, I'm like, you guys, it's really nice to watch the different shows, and even the RWO and the Dent Nerds. Everybody's different, and everybody has their own personalities, and it's
Yeah.
been fun to watch your guys' show grow.
Thank you, brother.
We
It's
appreciate
been fun.
So
We
we've had
appreciate it.
people like you and PDR College, all them ahead of us that we kind of they want to learn off of too, and it's been awesome. Like I always say, PDR College is the beginning, and it's helped a lot of
100%.
people motivate us to get doing this, and we enjoy the shit out of it.
Yep.
It's been fun. It's been fun to watch. And at the end of the day, people are like, "Why do you do it?" Give back, right? You try to give back to what you can. I didn't have this when I started. Shit, you should see some of these terrible tools that we use to fix cars.
Yeah.
So, but I appreciate you guys bringing me on.
Absolutely,
we
brother.
appreciate you coming on.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, yeah,
It's been a blast.
great show. Appreciate everybody that was watching. We had a lot of new viewers because Ryan shared it on his. But
Yeah, appreciate that.
I liked, really good show. We had a lot of viewers.
But
But we do have guests for the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping next week's guest can do it. He's got to wake up just to get on our show because he's across the pond over there. So, 6 o'clock here be like 1 a.m. there. So
he can do it.
Oh yeah, he'll do it. He said he'd go a bit early, but we'll make sure before we put that out. Great show. Appreciate everybody. Thanks again, Ryan, for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
And we are out of here. Peace.
Hi, everybody.